Hey, Top Fan Rivalry followers, it is Bill and Jackson, which means it's another weekly review time. Jackson, how are you tonight?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm excellent. Before we get started, we got to talk about some fun stuff, Jackson. And that is, we got watch parties. We got a watch party booked in Fountain Valley, California, Dodgers Angels watch party. If you're local Southern California person, come on down. It's free. We got a bunch of fun stuff. We have signed a contract and are going to release the location for a watch party in Anaheim on 4/1. And we are signing a contract for 6/20 uh, in Atlanta, Georgia. Braves versus Phillies watch party, baby. It's all kinds of fun. Plus, we're going to have a watch party in Houston, San Francisco, Boston, again, Philadelphia, New York this year. So go on topfanrivalry.com, hit that watch party thing. Let us know what you're thinking. So we're excited to have you on. So, Jackson, watch party time, baby. We're in.
Oh, yeah. Watch some baseball.
Now, let's watch some baseball. All right, Jackson, who's your first up for this weekly review?
I mean, I know you're going to mention it. I'll start you out because I know you're going to want to pile on this one. But Padres signing Yu Darvish to a 6-year, $100 million plus extension at the age of soon to be 36, 37. What is it going to be? 36, 37, something like that.
Yeah.
This one's a head scratcher for me. I've always liked Yu Darvish as a pitcher because he's funky, he's weird, he throws. You, you scroll through all the pitches on Wikipedia, he throws all those pitches for some reason. He just does it, strikes a lot of batters out. But the last couple of years doesn't really scream off. These pitchers are known for their longevity, but just with Darvish's injury history, I don't see it. This is a head scratching move for me. The Padres have put their offseason spending up over 500 million, and diminished their chances of re-signing maybe Manny Machado or Juan Soto or maybe both by throwing some money in at Darvish. What are your thoughts, Bill?
I love that. I love what you're saying. Okay. Um my question is this. Hugh Darvish signs. So Manny Machado, Juan Soto. Okay, those are big names. Those are big bets. What about Blake Snell? You're going to need pitching at some point. You can score 100 runs a game, but if you give up 100 or one runs, you're not going to win. What about Blake Snell? I believe Blake Snell's contract is up either this year or next year. Are you going to have the cash for him?
I mean
I
that
mean,
that's a good question, but Blake Snell, funnily enough, to me in my mind, kind of compares to a youth. He's shown to be a consistent pitcher when healthy, but he tries to pitch through a lot of injuries, much like Darvish has, and that's where the struggles have come, the long-term injuries. So yeah, so he's a free agent 2024. To answer that
yeah. So
question,
at the end of next season,
I have his page pulled up, but to me, it's a head scratcher to throw 100 million at a guy who's probably pitchers are on borrowed time at the age of 34. So
course.
any year you get after that's gravy. Not everyone can be Justin Verlander. Nobody can be Nolan Ryan. So I'm this move was just kind of a shock to me. I saw it and I said, really?
Yeah. It. Listen, they're dealing out $100 million contracts out in San Diego like they're candy, right? Sign me up for 100 million. I'll do whatever they need me to do in San Diego for $100 million. I mean, that's what they did with Joe Musgrove. That's what they did with now Hugh Darvish. Come on,
Yeah.
right? Come on. That's all I have to say. But you know, you go, I guess, San Diego. What happens when you lose Manny Machado? What happens when you lose Juan Soto next year? I mean, that's gonna hurt, right?
It's gonna be rough, is what it's gonna be.
Yep. Uh, so my first one is going to surprise you a little bit. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, avoiding arbitration, Bo Bichette, 3-year deal in Toronto. Okay, the reason why I bring this one up is because Toronto needs, in order to compete in that division, they need to stay with their youth, right? The Yankees are not predominantly getting younger, right? They just offered a huge contract to All Rise Aaron Judge, who's 30 years old. You've got um, Giancarlo, I can't find a jersey that fits me, Stanton. And then you've got a bunch of other guys there that aren't young either, like Nasty Nestor isn't all that young. You're going to need the youth. You're going to need the ability. If you're going to compete against Boston, if you're going to compete against Tampa Bay, and dare I say it, Baltimore, that division's fantastic. You're going to have to stay young. And so I like the 3-year extension for Bo Bichette. I really, really like it north of the border. Do you have thoughts on it, Jackson?
Yeah, I agree with that. Toronto has a really young line. A pitfall of a lot of teams in Major League Baseball is their general manager doesn't know what a bullpen is. You know, again, you said you could score all the runs you want, but if your bullpen's out there buckling late in the game, it's a backbreaker. Your offense can't bail you out every night. They can only storm back from a 3-run deficit so many times before they get underneath and pop a ball up instead of hitting it out of the yard. So I think it's really important for Toronto to keep that core intact and try to just piece together whatever pitching they can find. Bullpen pitching is fickle. You can catch lightning in a bottle and you can have guys, pitch lights out for one season. That's all Toronto really needs. And I think I think they're much better than Tampa Bay and Boston. I don't think Tampa Bay got any better this offseason. They're still going to win 80 games somehow, and put egg on my face. But I think Tampa Bay can compete with Baltimore definitely for second in that division. I think they're just a tad bit behind the Yankees, the starting rotation. I think that's what puts them ahead in the division. But I think on paper, the lineup for Toronto matches up with pretty much anyone in the MLB, if you look at it, especially after acquiring Dalton Varsho in the offseason. Really good pickup for them.
Agreed. All right, what you got for number 2?
Number 2, with spring training right around the corner, I was thinking about there's a couple milestones. We're going to get excited. Me being the stats guy, there's some milestones we can witness here in 2023. So Miguel Cabrera could pass someone on the leaderboard with his 3rd, 5th, 6th, 15th, 28th, and 30th home runs of the seasons if he hits 30. So he can pass Mickey Mantle for 18th place all time. He hits 30 home runs this year. Stanton's 22 home runs away from 400. Nolan Arenado's 1 home run away from 300. Freddie Freeman's 8 away from 300. Andrew McCutchen's 13 away from 300. Bryce Harper's 15 away. Machado and Anthony Rizzo are 17. So we have a lot of milestones that might happen this upcoming season. I think we're seeing several Hall of Fame players among the players I just named there. So I think this season is, apart from all the shakeup, the MLB offseason's been uncharacteristically chaotic. But I think it's going to be really cool to see a lot of milestones. And I think people are excited for the season to start because there is a lot of hype. It's good to see. I know you like to rag on San Diego. It's good to see San Diego excited, though. Fans in the past were kind of like, yeah, maybe we'll play good in April. But now it's like they're excited to be in the playoff race. Aside from about 5 teams in the MLB, I think 25 of the teams feel like they have a legitimate shot out the gate, to maybe sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah. I legit, I don't hate San Diego. I love San Diego. San Diego is awesome, but it's good for baseball when you've got competition. I love the milestones. I love the fact that you brought that up.
Yeah, Kershaw's 13 or 3 wins away from 200.
Mm-hmm.
Cherry on top for the Hall of Famer.
First ballot Hall of Famer, might I
add. I agree with that. I'm by no means a Dodgers fan, but Clayton Kershaw's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and whoever doesn't vote for him should have their voting rights revoked because learn how to read a stat sheet.
100%. He gets 100%, Jackson. It is my concern, Jackson, is if there's only 50 votes, let's say, I hope he doesn't get 52 and they want to recount. I'm just teasing. Clayton got 103% of the vote.
If somebody voted twice, I put all 10 votes on Clayton Kershaw, I'd be like, that's pretty valid.
There you go. Love it. All right. So my number 2 is the World Series, or the World Baseball Classic Team USA was announced today. Some names on here I really, really like, some names on here that I like, some names I'm concerned about injuries. On the position side of it, I'm concerned about Mike Trout. I don't want him to hurt his back, because it's good for baseball when Mike Trout's good. And you saw this year he hit about 300 home runs inside of 10 games. I mean, I'm being facetious, but we saw what he could do. Pete, who can't find a jersey that fits him, Alonso as well.
He shops at
Um,
the same store as Giancarlo.
yeah. Tim Anderson, I
The
still
store.
got fingers that work to the um to the crowd, right? Nolan Arenado, Mookie Betts, Paul Goldschmidt, um, Jeff McNeil, Cedric Mullins, JT Realmuto, Kyle Schwarber, the Fresh Prince of LA, Will Smith, um, Kyle, I never wore batting gloves, Tucker, Trey Sexy Slide Turner, and Bobby Witt Jr. All great, fantastic players. I think Team USA is going to have a great shot at competing um, in this World Baseball Classic, which is hard for me to say because you know how I feel about the World Baseball Classic, and
Yeah.
you know how I feel about that. But I love this brand of all-star, players type thing. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on these guys?
I mean, it's gonna be a battle. Team Japan always shows up. They have great pitching as always. A surprisingly solid lineup.
Yeah.
The Dominican Republic, that they have the sexy names. They got Francisco Mejia at catcher with Gary Sanchez. They have Willie Adames, Rafael Devers, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Manny Machado, Jeremy Pena, Nelson Cruz. Julio Rodriguez, Juan Soto. I think it's going to be a battle. I think there's going to be a lot of really good baseball on, but like I agreed with you. Is it worth the injury risk? I was going to mention this as its own separate point, but the Braves are letting Ronald Acuna Jr. play for Venezuela. Uh, it was announced today, right as the rosters were announced, because I just know Acuna doesn't know what the word, play at 80 or 75%. He goes 110%, 100 miles an hour, whatever he does. So it does scare me a little bit as a Braves fan. As a baseball fan, I'm really excited because the best guys are going to be on the field. But they need to figure out a better format than cutting into spring training, and you really worry for the pitchers more than anything else because they're not getting their normal throwing routine in before starting the season. So
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, what do you got for your final point? Because I love your commentary there.
I mean, I was coming through a lot of things. I was going to be obscure with my final point today. I was going to put Acuna as my last point, but I just think, well, I read something somewhere. I was going to improvise. Oh, that the Brian Reynolds trade. I know you don't like trade rumors, Bill. It's too high for the Yankees because they want uh, Jason Dominguez, who got invited to spring training. So Yankees fans rejoice. So I'll connect this all together in one coherent point. So just follow me real quick. And they call him the Martian, highly rated prospect. And to me, it's weird that the Yankees tout their prospects and hold them so highly because they never call them up. I think this is a larger problem in baseball, where a lot of general managers are really conservative on who they want to call up. I'm sure you, as a Dodgers fan, when you're down guys, you're kind of confused why the top prospects, the guys that look ready, aren't coming up sometimes.
Yep.
Instead you're getting the guy that's a couple notches below him. Let the kids play, man. What's the worst that's going to happen if you're pulling up? If you're the Yankees, and you're pulling up Anthony Volpe. Can he be that much worse than Isner kind of Falefa at shortstop, OPS wise? No, probably not.
Exactly.
So, I mean, with the prospect lists coming out and all that, and people putting a lot of emphasis on all the farm systems stacked, guys got to remember going into the season, your farm system's only stacked if your team uses it, either as trade capital or by calling the players up. If they just sit there, they're prospects till 25 and they're no longer on the list, you just wasted, not only the career of the player or the talent of the player, you wasted valuable resources that you need to compete for a championship in Major League Baseball.
Mhm. Right. Right.
So yeah,
No, I agree. I agree.
I brought it
Uh,
back.
last night you did. Last night on we did a Top Fan Rivalry live with I did a live with three other people, and we were talking about the 40-man roster because there's a lot of folks in LA that are Dodger fans that are like, why don't we call up this person? Why don't we have this person? And they don't understand how the 40-man roster works. And so yeah, I'm loving how you brought that back and how you brought that in. That's phenomenal. So I'll take it. I'll take it. Um, I'm gonna go with my number three. I'm gonna go with the pitchers for the WBC for Team USA. Nasty Nestor Cortez, a very familiar name to Jackson and I, David Bednar. Um, the um, Miro Kelly, not to be confused with Megan Kelly. Clayton Kershaw, first ballot Hall of Famer. Lance Lynn. Um, the Ryan Elvis Presley. You've got Adam Wainwright on here. So there's a lot of good talent. Again, can I just tell you, please don't get hurt. If you guys ever, any of you players are listening to this, please don't get hurt. It's so much better. I'm a fan of one team. Jackson's a fan of another team, but it's always good when you're playing the best players and they're competing. You never want a situation where the players aren't competing because you've got two or three. We talked about the Padres a second ago and all these things that the Padres have. So what happens when Fernando Tatis is, out for the 40 games or whatever, and then Manny Machado takes a ground ball to the shin and he's out 3 weeks, and Juan Soto fouls a ball off his foot and he's out for a month. Okay, you're not beating the best Padres team. You're beating a team that's hamstrung. You want to
You're,
beat
you're
the
you're
best
being
team.
the Los Angeles Angels. They're not managing their player personnel correctly. You have guys like Andrew Velasquez getting meaningful at bats in the division race in the middle of May.
Yep. Yep. No, I totally understand. I totally get it. So I just, again, guys, please stay healthy. Don't go all out. I know that there's rules and how much you can pitch and how much you can play and things like that, but it just takes one weird landing as a pitcher and you could potentially be out for way too much time. So yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. So that's, I was excited when they announced it, but I love this term. I was as nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs, is what I was, right? There's nothing you can do about it. So
Yeah.
it's just crazy. So, but yeah, that's where I gotta go. I mean, I love the fact that you brought up Hugh Darvish. I love even more that you brought up the milestones because we don't talk about that enough. And you led me to the idea of having a group of guys on to talk milestones on a podcast, which, by the way, since we last talked, um, we are at today, we're filming this on February 9th. We are actually, believe it or not, at 25%, almost actually a little higher, almost 30% of the downloads for everything we had last year.
Wow.
Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane, Jackson. So I thank you for those of you that are listening to the podcast. I thank you for those that are listening to these weekly reports and they're around the diamonds and doing some fantastic things. So be excited about that. There's so much more to come and so much more excitement in Top Fan Rivalry that's coming down the pipe. And trust me, when you hear some of the things we're going to do, you're going to be going, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. This is fantastic. So Jackson has promised me that he's going to write 6 articles a week for the locker room, no less than 6,000 words an article. No, I'm teasing.
Woo,
But Jackson, we got to do a podcast
woo, for a
for
second.
we got to do a podcast for milestones. What do you think?
I I think we do. I mean, other ones I didn't mention, Verlander's at almost 250 wins. I think Zach Greinke is almost at 200 wins, 2,000 strikeouts, something like that.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Yeah,
again, it's fun to talk about players that you grew up, we've all watched play and talk about milestones. And, maybe we'll throw in a little spicy Hall of Fame discussion, yay or nay on some of those players. And you guys can all disagree with my hot takes. But
yeah. Jackson Westfall, hot takes for the HOF. You heard it right here on Top Fan Rivalry first. I love it. So, Jackson, you're wearing a swanky hat. I'm wearing a pretty cool hat. Where do people get these hats?
Just hop on your computer, open up your browser of choice, type in topfanrivalry.com. It's going to open up. It's going to have a Beautium. You're going to want to go up to the shop. You're going to click on that. You're going to pick out a cool hat and use code Jackson. You'll get 10% off. It's that easy.
10% off. Now, Jackson, what happens if they want to see the sports news and they want to see this weekly review? Somebody refers them to this. How do they get it? What do they got to do? Do they have to do anything?
You got to get locker room access. We don't just let anyone in. You got to get your little press pass. We don't let Joe Schmo off the street in.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, what's a locker room access? What's a locker room access cost? What, 150, $200 a year?
No, it's only $36, ain't it? $35.99. $36.
$36. And they can use your code and get 10% off of that too for all access for the whole year?
Yeah.
No, that's not right. That's not right. So you're telling me that you can get complete access to everything that Top Fan does for $36 a year minus 10%?
Yeah. $32.40.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Jackson, as usual, this has been fun. We got to do this again next week. I'm excited. I'm always excited because next week we'll be able to talk about what will happen by the time we film this episode next week.
Spring training will start officially.
The long national nightmare is over. We will have baseball back at the house.
Yes, Super Bowl's this weekend, guys. Get the last of your football season out of the way. Eat some good food. Have a good time. But I was telling Bill before the broadcast, as soon as that trophy ceremony starts, it's baseball season.
That's why I clap. Hey, it's over. Let's get baseball going on.
Finally, baseball time. Let's go.
Yeah. Jackson, thanks again, brother. We'll do this again next week.
All right, sounds good.
All right, talk to you later.